And when you're grateful, you open up. And you open up and you sprout. And you blossom and you bloom. And then you spread fragrance. And the second principle, besides being grateful, it's to be compassionate. Karuna, there's a word in Sanskrit. Compassionate. If you have no compassion in you, then we are of no use to the nature. Nature's only focus is to survive. If you look at how evolution has planned out, everything is based on survival. The emotions of fear as well is all so that you can be afraid and run away and protect yourself and survive. So when you do something for others, you are helping nature grow. And to expect that those will be compassionate to you, to whom you are compassionate, that's a mistake. Don't have that expectation. Everybody's got an individual karmic account. The person you are exercising compassion for may actually not even regard it, may not even respect it. But that's not good enough a reason to abandon it. A long time ago, I wrote a story about a scorpion and a saint. There was a saint, he was taking a dip in the river, and there was a scorpion there, was drowning, and it was trying to, save itself. So he, took his hands and lifted the scorpion. And the scorpion stung, and he immediately let it go. And then he repeated the action, the scorpion stung again. He let it go again. And the third time, he very swiftly, he did that, and the scorpion was saved. A man was watching this saint. He went to that saint and said, well, I don't understand. I can understand you tried to save the scorpion, but one time was enough. If it doesn't want to listen to you, let it go, let it die. What do we care? It stung you twice, and yet you third time saved it. Still. Doesn't make sense to me. It's okay to be compassionate, but you don't have to be foolish, the man said. And the saint said, well, think about this. This creature here, it's one of the lowest on the food chains. And I am at the highest end of the food chain. Such a lowly creature who's got no brains would not let go of his basic tendency in my presence. Should I, a saint, let go of my basic tendencies in the presence of a mere scorpion? When your circumstances, when those around you shape you, are able to shape you the way they want you to behave, they have won and you have lost. That means they're stronger than you. If you are stronger than them, then you would know how to stand your ground. And compassion is a matter of choice. Compassion is about forgiving the other person. But forgiveness doesn't mean that you accept what they do to you or what they have done to you. It's not reconciliation. It is that I am not going to hold anything in my heart against this person. And by by any stretch of imagination, I'm not suggesting you become a doormat and let anybody walk over you. I'm not saying that. But when you express compassion, it's a divine emotion. You are of use to the world then, to nature. Nature is then interested in you. It's interested in what you want. It's interested in making sure that you are taken care of. And it's easy to just say, move away. But that's the easy route. Compassion requires great strength. Anytime you're not able to exercise compassion, the only thing you really have to think about is, am I so weak that I can't even be compassionate? compassionate towards my siblings, towards my parents, towards my friends, towards the society, towards this world. It has a dopey, a calming effect on the mind. If there is only one virtue you could have, if there's only one virtue I would say, have this, it would be compassion. A life without compassion is as good as an animalistic life. Scriptures state there are 84 lakhs species, 8.4 million species on the planet. There are different forms of consciousness. Even within human beings, there are 8.4 million types of human beings. Some live like wolves, some live like lions. Some have the tendencies of a crow, some behave like scorpions, some are like cows, some are like bulls. So when you behave a certain way, you just have to ask yourself, what consciousness is prevalent in me right now? Am I behaving like a bull, or am I behaving like a human being? Not often, but a lot of the times I get these queries and people think there is some mantra they can chant, there is some meditation they can do, or there is some temple they can go to, or there is some guru they can have who will bless and suddenly they'll feel compassion, they'll feel calm. It's never going to happen that way. Never. I've never seen that happening, at least. It's entirely in your hands. It is a conscious choice. Neuroscientifically speaking, the same part in our brain is activated when we make somebody else happy as it does when we ourselves are happy. Brain makes absolutely no distinction between whether I'm making another person happy or I'm making myself happy. Everything that happens around you, everything that happens around us, it's very much our problem. When somebody's in trouble, it is our problem. And I'm reminded of a little story. There was a farmer once, and in his barn he had a cow, a goat, and he had a chicken, a hen, and he had his family, a wife and kids and stuff. Not in the barn though. So there was a mouse in that house. And the mouse was always going around nibbling on, everything it could get its hands on. And this, the farmer's wife was really bothered and bugged by this. And she said, I'm going to set a mouse trap so this mouse stops bothering us. So they set a mouse trap, and the mouse sees the trap. And the mouse is very anxious now. It's thinking, I'm going to get trapped in this thing. There is a piece of cheese that's hanging there, and I know I won't be able to resist it for long. It's only a matter of time before I end up in that trap. So it goes running to the hen and says, can you save me? Can you do something? There's a trap there. And the hen says, well, it's not my problem. What do I have to worry about a mouse trap? You be careful, there's nothing I can do. And he goes to the goat. And said, goat, can you please just stamp, your foot on this trap and crush it, because I'm going to get trapped, I'm going to get killed. And the goat says, oh, I'm really scared of a mouse trap. I don't really care. The goat said, it's not my problem. And the mouse goes to the cow and says, well, you're the biggest one around here, and there's a trap set in the house. Can you please, crush it and get rid of it? The cow said, well, it's not my problem, is it? Well, it's your problem, you go figure out a solution. This is what's happening in the world all the time. We are so worried, so concerned about our own problems all the time that we don't want to take time out to solve anybody else's problem. But you always have time to solve it. Out of 24 hours, you give 8 hours to the employer. They pay you, sure, but sometimes you give 9 hours, sometimes you give 10 hours. You take time out for things that matter to you. Similarly, the same thing happens with compassion. If it matters to you, nature will provide you with the resources adequate, sufficient enough so you can exercise it. So here the mouse is really worried, and it's praying, for its life. And that night, a snake gets trapped in the trap accidentally. And as soon as the trap closes, his wife hears, and she goes running to the trap, thinking it's a mouse, and she accidentally steps on the tail, and the snake bites. And now there is venom in her body. And the farmer rushes her to the hospital, to the doctor. It was a small village. She had no medical insurance. And the doctor said, well, how will you pay me my fee? And the man said, look, I'm a poor farmer, and I've already invested this season's money in the ground. So I can only pay you after the harvest. The doctor said, not good enough. There must be something you can do for me. And he said, well, could I give you some food? He said, okay, what can you give? And he's thinking, what can I give? He said, some rice. I'm not interested in rice. But I love chicken, the doctor said. He said, I've got a hen. I'll happily give it to you. So the doctor takes the hen, and you know what happened next. So the hen was dead. And it wasn't the hen's problem, but it became its problem. And the goat is still there, the cow's still there. The farmer goes back to the home, and the wife doesn't feel well. She becomes ill, and the farmer goes to a local shaman and says, oracle, what can we do? Medicine's not working. They says, well, if you sacrifice a goat, and I'm sure your wife will be totally fine. And the farmer says, well, I have a goat. I can do that much for my wife. And he takes the goat is sacrificed, but the wife still dies. And now all the relatives come to the house, and what to do, how to feed them. It's a big event, funeral, so he has to sell the cow as well. So in that house, only two creatures are left, the farmer and the mouse. Everybody else ends up dead. Everybody else ends up dead. We don't know in the equation of this life whether you are the farmer, the mouse, the cow, the goat, or the hen. But it doesn't matter who you are. It helps to be responsible. It helps to take care of those around us. Somebody wrote Mahatma Gandhi a letter, and when the letter was delivered, a person was sitting next to him. He read the letter. It was a 2-page letter. He took out a pin, put it aside, crumpled the letter, and threw it in the trash can. And this man said, I don't understand. Somebody just sent you a letter. That person gave time, and you so cruelly crumpled it and threw it in the bin. And Gandhi said, well, it was all full of abusive language. The letter, the person was hurling abuses at me, and there was nothing nice in it. He said, well, then why did you take all the time and go through the effort of taking the pin out? Why didn't you just throw the whole thing? I don't understand that aspect of your actions. Gandhi said, well, I have kept what I will reuse. The thing that matters to me, the only useful thing in the letter, I've kept. What I didn't want to use, I've thrown it. When the world is writing you letters, whether you're everybody around you basically, it's a choice whether you accept it or reject it. Sometimes compassion is in rejection. Sometimes ignoring the other person is compassion. Because if you accept what they say about you, then you might feel agitated. Sometimes compassion is simply that I have opened both my ears in through one and out through the other. Compassion is not about preaching the other person or about trying to change them. In fact, the only person you can really change is yourself. That too if you're very lucky and if you're very persistent. Because the hardest to change is ourselves again. So a life of compassion is always going to be a meaningful life. If you have compassion, you may not have as much money, or you may not have a lot of amenities, or you may, but you will have one thing for sure. And that one thing is peace. You will not struggle to sleep.